guys, what's going on? Gaming Jake here, and in this video I'm going to be talking about Abyss Actors. This deck has actually been in and out of the Arc V anime. It's used by the character Salvatore, also known as Silvio in the English dub. I don't exactly know his Japanese name, which would be his English sub name. But however, he did originally use cards like Sharpshooters, which were just normal monsters that had basically Monarch effects. When they were tributed, they did things. However, now he's changed his deck to Abyss Actors. Basically, these decks, they look like movie stars. That's what they are. This guy in the anime, he's all about performance. He's all about he's prideful. He's very cocky. I'm trying to think of the word. There's another word for it. But yeah, so that's sort of his personality. He's high-spirited. He sees himself as the hero and whatnot. So this deck, it actually fits himself pretty well. So we're gonna be going over the deck. It's a pretty small archetype as of now. It's got 3 spell cards and 7 monsters. 7 monsters, I think. Yeah. However, I was still able to make a deck list based off this deck. Of course, that's what you guys are seeing. Ultimate Salvatore is the name of the deck. It's a very interesting deck. I still haven't been able to get the feel of it yet, frankly, because I keep dead drawing, and that may be my fault with the deck build and everything. But so let's review some of the cards, and then I'll talk about a good deck build with it. So first up, we have his main card, Abyss Actor Evil Heal. It's a level 8 Dark Fiend type Pendulum effect monsters. All these cards are Dark Fiend Pendulum effects. So they remind me a lot of DDDs, how they're all Fiend types, and how they all basically have to do with effects of bringing each other back on the field, dealing damage to yourself, and ended up getting out really cool effects, mainly to where you can just OTK. Abyss Actor isn't nearly as powerful, however, it can be as effective if you get the right combo out. So we're starting with Evil Heal. Its Pendulum effect, it's got a scale of 1. Is once per turn you contribute 1 Abyss Actor monster you control, then target 1 face-up monster your opponent controls. It loses attack equal to the tributed monster's original attack until the end of the turn. It's not too bad of an effect. Basically what you can do, if you can get this thing out with this card in your Pendulum scale, then you contribute it, Evil Heal, then one of your monsters loses 3k attack points, which is a lot of attack points. It will most likely drop it down to 0. Then you can just re-Pendulum summon Evil Heal back from your extra deck and attack over it, dealing 3k or more damage. Its monster effect, however, is a bit different. Once per turn, if this card is normal or special summoned, you can target 1 face-up monster your opponent controls that loses 1,000 attack points for every Abyss Actor monster you currently control, which would be max of 5 if you Pendulum summon 5 at once. That's 5,000 loss until the end of the attack, or until the end of the end phase. Until the end of the turn, wow. When this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can target 1 Abyss script spell in your graveyard, set it to your field. So we'll get to those later. We're sticking with the monsters for now. Next up, we have the level 7 2500 Superstar. Like I said, this guy sees himself as the hero. However, a lot of people like to debate that he's the rival. That's why he's got a level 8 3k and a level 7 2.5k. So this has got a scale of 3. Its Pendulum effect is once per turn you contribute 1 Abyss Actor monster, target 1 Abyss script, the spell card, and add it in your graveyard, add it to your hand. So it's similar. It's a bit similar to Evil Heal. You tribute to play an effect. This one, basically, it lets you recover the Abyss spell support cards from your graveyard. Lets you add it to your hand. That's not too bad. I mean, you could always normal summon, tribute, and then Pendulum summon the monster that you tributed back. So that's not too bad. Superstar's effect. When this card is normal or special summon, your opponent cannot activate spell or trap cards or their effects. So basically, the thing with Superstar here is if you Pendulum summon this with at least a good amount of other Pendulum Abyss Actors, like you can summon 3 Superstars, and then we'll get to other ones later, but I'm going to say Pretty Heroine, Wild Hope, or Evil Heal. Then, I mean, like, your opponent can't play Bottomless, they can't play stuff like that. I mean, they can still Solemn Warning it, of course, but, they can't play Bottomless or any annoying things like that. Like Space Trap Hole, stuff like that. So it's, your opponent can't play spell or trap cards. Once per turn, you can set 1 Abyss script spell card directly from your deck. However, during the end phase, it is sent to the graveyard. So some of them actually do have effects when they're sent to the graveyard, the Abyss script cards. However, it's mainly from when their opponent sends it to the graveyard with like MST or with their own card effect, not by something that you forced. So next up, we have the first level 4 is Wild Hope, 1600 attack, 1200 defense, scale of 2. Pendulum effect is once per turn. If you have a Abyss Actor card in your Pendulum zone, you can make this card's scale become 9 until the end of this turn. However, you can't special summon monsters except for Abyss Actor monsters, even if it leaves the field. So even if you play its effect and your opponent Twin Twisters, you can only special summon Abyss Actors. So this card actually has the highest potential scale of the deck. I mean, you could always Pendulum Shift it up to a 10, but that's only for a turn. I mean, this is for a turn too, but this, you know, you don't have to use Pendulum Shift for this card. It's just its own effect. Because the highest of this deck is Funky Comedian and it's Funky Comedian and Dandy Supporting Actor with 8. However, this thing has a potential 9. So this is, Wild Hope is the only way that you can really Pendulum scale Evil Heal, which in my opinion is really, really good. Because Evil Heal is a very, very good card if you can get it out. Of course, you could Tribute Summon for it, and then you could Rependulum summon the monsters you tributed. However, it's always nice to get as many monsters as possible on the field when you're using a Pendulum deck. So it's a great Pendulum effect. You just got to be able to draw it, basically. I recommend running 2 or 3 of these. Once per turn during your main phase, you can have this card gain 100 attack times 100 attack times for each Abyss monster you control. Why they worded that wrong? You can have this card gain 100 attack for every Abyss Actor monster you control. If you can control 5, then Wild Hope gains 500 attack points. They worded that extremely wrong, and that confused me. If this card is destroyed by battle or a card effect, you can add 1 Abyss Actor monster from deck to hand. That's a really good effect because this, you know, the Abyss Actors in this deck, if you get the right ones in hand first turn, or, you know, this deck is not good when it comes to drawing a card that can turn the whole duel around. There aren't. This deck needs to get out on the field, it needs to take the field, it needs to go. It needs to go as fast as it can go. It honestly does. If this deck is left 3 or 4 turns, especially with Yu-Gi-Oh! Nowadays, I mean, like, you get Quillforts, Nekroz, Monarchs, anything like that, and those are just like old meta. Like, those aren't anything new that stuff like that's coming out. I mean, like, we're getting new Performapal and Odd-Eye support. I know people hate to say that because they're already too OP as is, but I mean, like, guys, what people don't realize is that Performapal comes from the show, and the show's going to keep progressing. They might have a little bit of cards based off the manga that are manga only. They already do have one, and they have one anime card that still hasn't seen the light of day, not even in the OCG yet, which I'm looking for. I'm really looking forward towards that if it comes out. But yeah, so I mean, like, this deck, it needs to do what it can turn 1. So, I mean, like, honestly, it doesn't even matter if you can add something to your hand. It honestly won't help. It needs to do something turn 1. Next, we have Pretty Heroine, another level 4. I mean, yeah, you could obviously Xyz with this deck. I mean, there's multiple level 1s. I mean, you can run multiple copies of the same card, but I recommend some level 4 Xyz monsters. You know, I mean, this is the only card, Wild Hope's the only card that prevents you from special summoning other monsters. So it's not too bad. But next we have Pretty Heroine. This card has the greatest, I want to say the greatest Pendulum effect out of the entire archetype. Once per turn, when you take battle damage by an opponent's attacking monster, you can activate one of these effects. That opponent's monster loses attack equal to the battle damage you took. So if you take, like, if a monster, okay, let's say Red Dragon Archfiend attacks you directly, you take 3,000 life points, leaves you with 5k. You can play Pretty Heroine's effect. Red Dragon Archfiend loses the amount you took. If it attacked you directly with its original attack points, it's going to lose its original attack points, putting it at 0. Then you can obviously just run over it next turn no matter what you have, no matter how low of an attack points. You can obviously run over it. And then the other effect is you can add one face-up Abyss Actor Pendulum monster from your extra deck to your hand with attack less than or equal to the battle damage you took. If you take 3,000, then you can add a monster from your extra deck to your hand whose attack points are 3,000 or less. So that's not too bad. However, that second ability, again, I mean, like, if you get this turn, this is more of a turn 4 or 5 card once cards actually start building up in your grave or your extra deck. You know, this card is more of a mid-game card. You know, it'll let you add your cards back. Best bet would be to add Evil Heal if you could. However, you would need to take 3,000 or more damage at once. So, yeah. I was about to skip it. I forgot its monster effect. Okay, its monster effect is once per turn when a player takes battle damage, you can target one face-up monster your opponent controls, it loses attack equal to the battle damage that player took. So it doesn't matter who takes battle damage. You could attack your opponent directly while a monster your opponent controls has 0 attack points. Your opponent takes 3,000 damage, you play this effect, and then another monster your opponent controls loses 3,000 attack points. Heroine is really, really good. Again, you just need to be able to play your cards right. You need to be able to do this when you can, on the spot, on the dot. When this card is destroyed by an opponent's monster or when this card is destroyed by battle or by a card effect, they just sort of, I don't get why they had to separate it like that. You can set one Abyss Script spell card directly from your deck. That's good. I mean, that's not too bad. I mean, of course, it depends on the spell effects themselves, which we are getting into. We only have 3 more monsters left. So again, you could easily Xyz with this deck with multiple level 4s. But yeah. So next up, we have Danny, supporting actor, the only level 2 of this deck. And yeah, we had an only level 7 and an only level 8. But this card's a bit more unique. It's a skill 8 level 2 Dark Fiend again. 700 attack, 700 defense. When you Pendulum Summon a monsters, you can add 1 face-up level 1 or 8 Abyss Actor monster from your extra deck to your hand. This effect is pretty good because it has the highest, excluding Wild Hope, it's tied with the highest scale with Funky Comedian. So if you have supporting actor here, and I don't know, let's just say Pretty Heroine, in your other Pendulum Zone, obviously you can't Pendulum Summon Evil Heal. So if Evil Heal's in your extra deck, then once you Pendulum Summon, you can play supporting actor's effect, add Evil Heal to your hand, then you contribute Evil Heal. So even though Evil Heal, you can't really Pendulum Summon it unless you use Wild Hope, you can always add it back to your hand. Is it good to always add it back to your hand? It depends on how you summon it, because you could always, Evil Heal lowers the attack points of a monster depending on how many monsters you control. So it's not too bad. But again, this card mainly, 1 level 8. It specifically says 1 level 1 or 8 monsters. Okay, so those are 2 monsters that you can't Pendulum Summon, because you can't Pendulum Summon level 1 monsters because the scale can't be lower than 1, obviously. And the majority of cards don't have a Pendulum scale over 8. 8 seems to be the highest set Pendulum scale. Now, there are anime cards that actually do have different Pendulum scales. Let me show you guys here. Monster, Pendulum. As we can see here, see, look, this has a scale of 10, and then another 10. I mean, like, this is all anime cards, or anime cards. I mean, like, they may be, I don't know, manga, but I have not seen them in the anime as of yet. Hold on. Maybe if I type in anime, it'll show me anime cards only. All right, so okay, oh, that has an anime effect? Well, you have no cards in your... What's the difference between it and its anime? Huh. Anyway, even its anime, Plushfire's anime thing is banned? Wow. Okay, well, there's this other Pendulum card that had another scale 10. That was really overpowered. But I do need to search up this actor. So, I mean, like, it lets you get back the cards that you can't normally summon, because you can't Pendulum Summon level 1s, and you can't Pendulum Summon Evil Heal. So, I mean, unless you use Wild Hope. And, I mean, like, if you could Pendulum Summon these level 1 monsters, Funky Comedian and Extra, then you'd be good, because I dead draw with these so many times, pretty much because I run 3 of them, wow. So I have 6 cards that I can't even Pendulum Summon, which is sad. But again, this deck isn't beta testing. I'm testing it and everything. So I'm gonna do a deck profile of this deck because I like the idea. I like the artwork. I just need to get a grasp on it, and that's what these videos are to do. I mean, they give you guys an idea of what to do with the deck, and then they also let me actually dive into it. So if it's monster effect. If you have 2 Abyss Actor cards in your Pendulum Zone, you contribute this card. Special summon 1 level 1 or 8 monster. Or 8 Pendulum monster that is either in your hand or in your extra deck. So that's not too bad. I mean, if you got this thing on the Pendulum Zone and on the field, you can add it to your hand with its Pendulum effect, and you contribute it, put it in your extra deck to special summon Evil Heal or that level 1 monster in your hand. Funky Comedian and Evil Heal both have cards. Both have card effects when they are normal or special summon. These are the main... This is basically the Time Gazer and the Stargazer of the deck. Funky Comedian and Evil Heal. Yes, Evil Heal is a card that you want on the field more than you do the Pendulum Zone. However, when it comes to the scale setting, these 2 are what you want on the field. So anyway, I think so at least. I mean, I guess you can. I guess you want Pretty Heroine too, but then you can't Pendulum Summon Dandy supporting actor. So I mean, it depends. I mean, like, you could always Pendulum Shift, of course. You could change the scale to 10 or whatever you want to do. But yeah. So next up we have Funky Comedian. Oh, wait, I should probably take off that. Okay, next we have Funky Comedian. Scale of 8, level 1, whatnot. So, Pendulum effect, once per turn you contribute 1 Abyss monster you control. Target another one you control. It gains attack equal to the tributed monster. some of these tributing effects are best used before you pendulum summon. You want a normal summon, keep your monsters on the field for a turn, assuming they don't get run over the previous turn. And then you can tribute to do your attack changing effects, and then you can rependulum summon and rinse and repeat. That's pretty much what this deck is. It's just lower your opponent's attack points, attack. And I mean, like, they need to have cards like Spell Shattering Arrows, or not spell, Anti-Magic Arrows, Waboko. Those are some cards needed in this deck because this deck is weak when it comes to where it needs to hit. It's weak. When it comes to its own consistency, it's weak. It's only really strong when it comes to effects, and that's if you have the proper cards in hand or on field. I mean, like, it honestly depends. This deck is so, it's not specific. It doesn't say you have to have this or you have to have this. Its searching methods are strict. Its field effects are strict. It depends. It honestly just depends until the end of the turn. So yeah. If this card is normal or special summon, you can make this card gain 300 attack for every Abyss Actor monster you control. Max is 5, so it's only going to gain 1,500 attack points, putting it at 18. It's not needed. You can target one other Abyss Actor monster you control. It gains attack equal to this card's current attack. Okay, so basically, if you have Evil Heal and this card on the field, then you can add 1,800 attack points onto Evil Heal. That's not bad. That's 4,800 Evil Heal. If Evil Heal did piercing, that'd be great. And then Funky Comedian can't attack the turn. That's perfectly fine, because you could just put it in defense mode. If you manage to Pendulum Summon it, which of course you can because it's level 1. Next up, we have the last Pendulum monster of this deck, Abyss Actor Extra. Scale 3, level 1. Pendulum effect is, if your opponent controls a monster, you can special summon this card from your Pendulum Zone. That's not bad. I mean, you could always, you could place 2 of these in, oh wait, no, never mind, you can only use the effect once per turn. But I mean, like, you could place 1 of these in your Pendulum Zone after you Pendulum Summon, and then you could tribute for Evil Heal. I mean, it depends. I mean, I'm talking a lot about Evil Heal, saying it's your saving grace. It's really not. If anything, I want to say Superstar might be. It's tied, of course. I mean, like, when it comes to Odd Eyes decks, the Odd Eyes Extra deck cards, they're saving graces too, but you have to have Odd Eyes on the field in order to get those out, pretty much. Or, you know, at least level 7s, and Odd Eyes is the level 7 beater of the main deck when it comes to an Odd Eyes deck. So again, depends on how you want to run it depends on you, on how you want to run your crap. Anyway, Extra's special ability, its monster effect, if you tribute this card, or if you can tribute this card, then you can activate 1 Abyss Actor Pendulum monster from your deck in your Pendulum Zone. That's not bad, except for you cannot special summon monsters except for Abyss Actor, and you can nor activate the effect of this card until the rest of the turn. So that's not too bad. I mean, it's basically like Pendulum Call or Magician Call, where you can discard 1, place 2 cards in your Pendulum Zone. See, that's what Abyss Actors needs. They need better searching methods. I mean, yeah, Perform Appel and Odd Eyes is such a huge archetype, and it's continuing to grow. Abyss Actors, it has the potential, it's just not getting it. So, yeah. Next up, we have Abyss Script. These are finally the spell cards. Fantasy Magic. This is the first one. Target 1 Abyss Actor monster you control this turn if it battles an opponent's monster, but the monster your opponent controlled basically was not destroyed. You can return it to the hand at the end of the damage step. Okay, so basically it doesn't protect your monster. You're still going to take battle damage. It just lets you return the monster back to hand. It depends on that monster. I mean, like, if you send a level 4 back to hand, it's not going to matter. If you send an Xyz monster back to hand on a Pendulum deck, then they're just going to re-Pendulum Summon it and then Xyz back on top of it, because you're not sending it to the graveyard, you're putting it back to the hand so it can be re-Pendulum Summoned. So, I mean, like, and it sucks if you sent Rebellion or Castell, because, you know, usually decks only run 1 or 2 of those, so if you actually only 1. So if you return those to the hands, then they can just get it back on the field and use their effect once more. If this set card you control is destroyed by an opponent's card effect, while you have an Abyss Actor Pendulum monster in your extra deck, you can target 1 card your opponent controls, place it on the top of the deck. So again, it depends on what you pick. If you pick a level 4 monster, then your opponent can just obviously put it back on the field. Sure, it makes your opponent brick, I mean, because they already had that card on the field. They don't really want to draw it again. Especially, you know, it was on the field and they were using it. So wasting a draw just to get it back, yeah, it's effective. However, it needs to be destroyed by a card effect your opponent controls. You can't MST it yourself. your opponent has to be worried about the said card. Nowadays, people aren't really worried about said cards, A, because people bluff, and B, because things like Utopia the Lightning are legal. Utopia the Lightning, Towers, I mean, cards that are unaffected by opponent's card effects is what people are using now, especially in the Red Eyes build. I mean, like, it's just massive. People don't even want to destroy crap anymore because they know the consequences. They just want to run over it, and that's the safest way to win. That's the safest way to play the game. Next, we have Opening Ceremony, which may be the best Abyss script card in this spell category. Gain 500 life points for every Abyss Actor monster you control. That's a total of 2,500. Sadly, you can only play one of these once per turn, so you can't keep adding life points. It would be nice if you could, however, it's a good thing that this deck does have spell recovery cards, such as Superstar. You can, let's see, once per turn you can set from your deck. Okay, no, there was one that did Graveyard, but I think it might have been Wild Hope when it was destroyed. No, it might have been this one. You can target one Abyss script card from your deck. Oh, I could have sworn that there was one in the graveyard, but oh well. But yeah, so I mean, like, and all of these have the destruction effect. They have the same destruction effect. Listen, if this set card you control is destroyed by an opponent's card effect while you have a face-up card in your Pendulum, while you have a face-up Abyss Actor Pendulum monster. Excuse me. Sorry about that. My brother is at the store and he's getting groceries, so he wanted to ask what I wanted, and I got brownies. He's getting me brownies. Yay! So basically, if this card, while you control a Pendulum monster, while you have a face-up Abyss, while you have an Abyss Actor monster, Pendulum monster in your extra deck. Whew. I mean, if this is an all Pendulum archetype, then I don't get why they say Abyss Actor Pendulum monster. Why not just an Abyss Actor monster, a face-up Abyss Actor monster in your extra deck? Whatever. Then you can draw until you have 5 cards in your hand. That's not a bad effect, but again, that's a huge if your opponent feels threatened by the set card. If your opponent wants to nuke your spells and traps. If they won't because they don't need to. Next up is, this one's the best Abyss script. Rise of the Dark Ruler. I don't really get why. I haven't read all of this card. This card is in massive beta. Its effects aren't even confirmed yet, but yeah. So target face-up cards on the field up to the number of attack position Abyss monster you control, with different names. That's not too bad. So if you control 3 monsters with different names, you can target up to 3 cards on the field. Destroy those targets. That's perfectly fine. If you control level 7 or higher Abyss Actor monster, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to this effect's activation. That's not too bad, except for there's not really a whole lot of cards that prevents card destructions. I guess Stardust Dragon, but I mean, like, eh. So you have to control Superstar or you have to control Evil Heal. If this set card you control is destroyed by an opponent's card effect while you have a face-up Abyss Actor Pendulum monster or monsters in your extra deck, you can add up to 2 Abyss Actor cards and or Abyss script spell cards with different names from your deck to your hand. I don't need Opening Ceremony and Fantasy Magic if I just nuked my opponent's best card with Rise of the Dark Ruler. If I used Rise of the Dark Ruler, that means I'm winning, which means I'm going for a direct attack. That's what that means. I don't need to be adding anything. I mean, sure, it's nice to get an extra little attack boost. I could add another Evil Heal, Tribute, and Pendulum Summon if I got Wild Hope, who can become a rank or a scale 9. So this archetype needs work. It honestly does. Because it's a bigger archetype, I want to say it makes it by default better than the Dark World stuff that we got. However, Dark Worlds are more consistent. You can add things to your hand. There's literally one card in Dark Worlds that say add something to your hand. That's a good card because with Ixtab and Mary the Fallen One, you can discard those to +2 during each of your standby phases. With that ability, you gain 200 life points if you do Ixtab's ability 3 times. With Mary, which is what I like to do, or I like to Foolish Burial it, or I even use the trap card to send Mary to the graveyard, I can still do things. I mean, this deck, if you put things in the wrong place, you get screwed. If you use the wrong card at the wrong time, you get screwed. If you don't have the proper cards on the field, you get screwed. and then the spell cards are huge ifs if you can't even use their first effect. I mean, like, it reminds me sort of Dark World, of the Dark World cards, because, you know, like, those are like when they're discarded, you could do things. And then some of them even say if they're discarded by an opponent's card. I mean, like, some of them are like, I mean, there's this one card where your opponent is forced to get rid of a card in your hand. That's a good effect because it works for you. It forces your opponent to do something. This card doesn't this deck does not force your opponent to do anything. In fact, this deck is begging your opponent, give me a turn so I can draw what I need. You draw a card, you don't get what you need because you bricked. This deck does not have good consistency. It doesn't let you do things turn one. It's a mid-duel deck that you gotta do turn one. If anything, it just depends. I mean, Mage Power works better than United We Stand because you can't even get the monsters out you need. I mean, the only thing you can really Pendulum Summon is Wild Hope and Pretty Heroine. And that's no matter what scale you use, whether you use Extra, Comedian, Actor, Superstar. These are the only two you can get out. And sure, you could tribute them and then re-Pendulum Summon them or whatever, but I mean, you can change the Pendulum skill with Pendulum Shift. If they're sent to the graveyard, you can play Pot of Riches. You can draw power with Allure of Darkness. Again, draw power with Ignite, Reload. This is just, this is a backbone. This is the spine of what an Abyss Actor deck should be. I gotta add the meat to it. I gotta add the flesh. I gotta add the organs, the muscle and stuff. This is literally just the spine of what the deck could do. I found Goblin King to be sort of useful. I mean, it gains 1,000 attack points for every Fiend type on the field. If you're mirror matching, if you're playing DDDs, this card does gain a massive ton of attack points. I wish it could gain attack points per Fiends in the graveyard. That would be great. I'm pretty sure it does that in the anime when Yusei used it in the duel against the security dude, the security chief. But, I mean, whatever's whatever. I mean, like, use this deck any way you want. If you guys can find a good build for it, let me know. I want to use this deck. I mean, like, funny thing is, when it came to the Dark Worlds, I said the same thing. I said, send me a deck list for this. And then not even 2 hours later, I made one myself, and it's pretty decent. Reason I made it myself like this is because I went on multiplayer. I told somebody who was using Dark Worlds, and they used this little idea. They summoned Idea summoned Edios. Edios would give you an extra normal summon into Lucifer. And if you didn't have Lucifer, you could add Lucifer with casting out of Dark Lords. Dark Lords, I've learned that Dark Lords is a deck you want to go turn 2 with. Because if you can get out Lucifer turn 1, or turn 1 for you, which would be turn 2, then you can special summon Polka, Zerato. Another popular thing I've been seeing is Call of the Haunted with Superbia. I don't like that. I don't think that's right because, yeah, if it's special summoned from the graveyard, you can target a fairy in your graveyard except for itself, special summon that target. You can special summon another Polka. Good for you. The chances are you're going to have to Call of the Haunted this because there's no other cards you can use. And to get out another monster, yeah, that's a strong effect, but that's, again, if your opponent doesn't Twin Twister, if your opponent doesn't Solemn Warning, and whatnot. So, Dark Lords are definitely stronger, even though they're a smaller archetype, and that's a bit sad. Abyss Actors has a lot of... It's unique. That's the word I was wanting to use at the beginning of this video. It's a unique archetype with a unique effect and unique context in general. They're just misusing it. So, anyway, guys, thank you all for watching. This is Gaming Jake logging out. Again, if you guys have an Abyss Actor deck, deck list, YGO Pro, or Dueling Network, actually, forget Dueling Network, YGO Pro, or if you guys found one, I would love to see it. I honestly would love to see it. I would love to test it out, and I would love to possibly make it. So, anyway, guys, thank you all for watching. This is Gaming Jake logging out. Peace.